Christmas Vacation hit 1989 like a holiday meltdown nobody planned. It wasn't the sequel John Hughes wanted. It wasn't the adventure fans expected. But one buried memory dragged it back and turned chaos into a Christmas ritual. Behind the lights exploding, the relatives invading, and Clark's sanity cracking, there were surprises the audience never saw. A European title change that wiped the movie off the map. A real-life crush between the kid actors bleeding into the scenes. A reunion decades later proving the Griswolds never really stopped being a family. These are 16 weird facts about Christmas Vacation, where the disaster became the tradition and the meltdown became the miracle. Number 1. John Hughes didn't want to write another vacation movie. He'd said everything he cared to say with the Griswolds, and sequels felt like studio machinery, not storytelling. When executives pushed him for a third film, he tried to sidestep it. He wasn't being difficult. He was drained. He didn't want to repeat himself. Then someone mentioned an old National Lampoon story he'd written nearly a decade earlier, Christmas 59. A bruised little essay about crooked trees, tense dinners, and the kind of childhood holidays that only look perfect in photographs. Hughes pulled it out, read it again, and felt something shift. He didn't need to invent a Griswold Christmas. He'd already lived one. So he took the cracked ornaments of that story, the father trying too hard, the family fraying at the edges, and rebuilt them around Clark Griswold's relentless, hopeful chaos. The script poured out sharp, warm, and painfully honest. And then Hughes did what almost no writer in Hollywood does. He walked away. No sequel meetings, no franchise planning, no interest in shepherding the Griswolds into the future. He later joked he didn't even know Vegas Vacation existed until someone mentioned it on another set. Christmas Vacation became the classic Hughes never wanted to write, born from a memory he could never quite outrun. Number 2. Europe didn't just skip the theatrical release. In some countries, marketers tried to reinvent the entire movie. For a brief, bizarre stretch in the early 90s, Christmas Vacation was renamed National Lampoon's Winter Holiday, as if removing the word Christmas might make the Griswolds more universally appealing. Posters swapped Clark's Santa suit for everyday clothes. The glowing lights vanished. Even the typography changed, sanded down into something safe, almost generic, like a comedy about airport delays instead of a holiday meltdown with a burning tree, a fried cat, and Cousin Eddie in a bathrobe. The goal was simple: avoid alienating regions where Christmas branding didn't sell as well. But the experiment fizzled fast. Audiences didn't connect with a watered-down title. Distributors reversed course, and Winter Holiday quietly disappeared into collectors' corners of the internet, surviving only on rare VHS boxes and promotional art that feels like an alternate universe joke. It's one of the strangest quirks in the film's legacy. A Christmas classic once stripped of Christmas, only to reclaim it forever. Number 3. Aunt Bethany's confused greetings, trembling voice, and patriotic pledge of allegiance weren't crafted by a newcomer. They were delivered by Mae Questel, a performer whose career began in 1929. Long before she wrapped herself like a gift and asked if the house was on fire, she was the voice that defined early American cartoons. She was Betty Boop, the baby-voiced flapper who became a cultural icon. She was Olive Oyl, Popeye's wiry, love-struck anchor. Her voice shaped the sound of animation for half a century, echoing through theaters long before Clark Griswold ever stapled his first string of lights to the roof. By the time she arrived on set for Christmas Vacation, she was in her 80s, frail but razor-sharp, slipping into Aunt Bethany with the same musical quiver that once brought black and white drawings to life. Cast and crew treated her like royalty, and they meant it. She delivered her final performance with the same spark she'd carried her whole career, a Christmas legend, played by a woman who helped invent animation itself. Number 4. Before they were TV legends or Oscar nominees, they were just kids in oversized sweaters trying to survive the Griswold holiday. Johnny Galecki and Juliette Lewis were barely teenagers when they stepped onto the Warner Brothers lot, long before Galecki became a sitcom giant or Lewis earned her Academy Award nomination. But the magic wasn't just in the youth. Director Jeremiah Chechik loaded the cast with heavy hitters: E.G. Marshall, Doris Roberts, Diane Ladd, actors with decades of stage and screen behind them. Their grounded presence gave the film its unusual emotional weight, turning chaotic comedy into something that felt lived in and real. Beverly D'Angelo later said it was the richest ensemble the series ever had, a multi-generational mix that made the Griswold home feel full, noisy, and heartbreakingly familiar. It wasn't just holiday chaos, it was a family built from some of Hollywood's strongest players, and that's why the movie still feels warm decades later. Number 5. The Vacation franchise has one running joke that never gets explained. Rusty and Audrey never look the same twice. Every movie recasts them, every actor brings a new personality, and continuity dies a hilarious, intentional death. Christmas Vacation kept the tradition alive with Johnny Galecki and Juliette Lewis, and added a twist. For the first and only time in the series, Audrey was taller than Rusty. No one tried to hide it. No one rewrote scenes. The two kids simply showed up, delivered their lines, and embraced the weirdness. Fans still debate whether it was on purpose or just part of the Griswold charm. By the time the family photo went up on the mantle, the pattern was sealed. The Griswold kids are less characters and more seasonal decorations, swapped out, replaced, and rediscovered with every movie. And somehow, that inconsistency became one of the most consistent jokes in the franchise. Number 6. Johnny Galecki wasn't a sitcom veteran yet. He was a kid trying to keep up with Chevy Chase, a master of physical comedy whose timing could shift from deadpan to explosive in a heartbeat. On the first week of filming, Galecki struggled with pacing and punchlines. Then Chase noticed. Quietly, between takes, Chase pulled him aside and started offering tips. When to wait, when to overlap a line, when to let a reaction do the heavy lifting. He taught Galecki the rhythm of Clark Griswold, hopeful breath, rising panic, then the comedic implosion that lands like a Christmas ornament shattering on tile. One afternoon, Chase even walked him across the lot to the Ghostbusters 2 set, introducing him to Bill Murray, giving the young actor a glimpse of another comedic giant. For Galecki, it wasn't just mentorship. It was a private masterclass from the man playing his on-screen dad. Years later, Galecki said the lessons stuck with him for life. And when you watch him on The Big Bang Theory, you can still hear a little of Clark Griswold in his timing. Number 7. John Hughes wrote Christmas Vacation with a familiar heartbeat, the quiet father-son moment that appears in every vacation film. Chevy Chase was ready to shoot it. The crew was ready. The script was ready. But the youngest person on set wasn't. Johnny Galecki, still early in his career, thought the scene wasn't necessary. He didn't want to slow the comedy or force a moment that didn't feel earned, so he politely turned it down. Filming moved on. The scene vanished. And the movie lost the one emotional pause Hughes always slipped between the chaos. Years later, Galecki admitted the decision haunted him. He said he still kicks himself every day, knowing he'd said no to a moment fans would have cherished. A small breath of warmth between Clark and Rusty before the holiday madness swallowed everything. It wasn't a failure. It was a young actor learning the value of stillness. And in a movie built on meltdowns, that missing softness became its own kind of memory. Hey, you guys still with me? If that little bit of holiday warmth still sticks with you, you can bring Christmas Vacation home. Just check the links below for the Blu-ray, DVD, or 4K. Thanks for the support. It really means a lot. Now, let's get those lights plugged back in and keep going. Number 8. On screen, Ruby Sue is sweet, sharp, and just a little mischievous. But behind the scenes, actress Ellen Hamilton Latson was dealing with something far more chaotic than Christmas dinner, her first real crush. Latson later admitted she was hopelessly smitten with Johnny Galecki throughout the shoot. In the long dinner table scenes, surrounded by extras, fake food, and blinding lights, she kept trying to get his attention, whispering jokes, tossing tiny marshmallows at him, and sneaking glances whenever the camera swung past. Galecki, focused and a bit shy, barely noticed. But for Latson, those tiny moments, the eye contact, the laughter, the long hours trapped at the Griswold table, became some of the sweetest memories of her childhood acting career. It's a reminder that even in a movie full of exploding trees, fried cats, and ranting relatives, the real story sometimes happens quietly between takes. Number 9. Clark Griswold's meltdown isn't a scene. It's a cinematic explosion. 90 straight seconds of profanity, panic, and pure holiday hysteria. It's the moment audiences quote every December. But Chevy Chase didn't actually have the whole speech memorized. The rant was so long and so rhythmically tricky that the crew devised a plan. Scatter cue cards everywhere. Some were taped behind ornaments. Some were tucked near actors' legs. Some were held at waist level just out of frame. Chase would storm past each person, catching the next line with a flick of the eyes, building momentum like a runaway sleigh. Watch the scene closely and you can see it. His gaze darting from face to face, tracking words only he knows are there. But the genius isn't in the trick. It's in how flawlessly he masks it. That breakdown wasn't chaos. It was choreography. A meltdown delivered with the precision of a dancer hitting every beat. And it became the moment that turned Clark Griswold into a holiday icon. Number 10. On screen, the world outside the Griswold home looks like pure Chicago winter. Crisp snow, icy streets, and that cozy blue December glow. But when the crew arrived in Breckenridge, Colorado to film those exterior shots, the town looked nothing like Christmas. Not a snowflake, not a patch of frost, just dry roads and bare rooftops. So the production scrambled, hauling in truckloads of artificial snow, spreading it across lawns and driveways by hand. It took hours. Actors slipped, props sank, but it worked. The scene finally looked like the holiday Hughes imagined. And then, nature struck back with a punchline even Clark Griswold couldn't have written. A massive storm blew in days later, dumping 10 feet of real snow on top of everything they'd just created. Cast and crew had to ride snowcats to reach the sets they'd painstakingly decorated. It's the perfect Christmas Vacation irony. The moment they faked winter, the real one came roaring in. Number 11. Every vacation film follows the same pattern. Pack the car, hit the road, descend into chaos. But Christmas Vacation broke the entire formula. No road trip, no cross-country meltdown, just one house, one holiday, and one family slowly losing its mind. John Hughes wanted the story to feel feel claustrophobic. That particular holiday tension where no one can escape. Every emotion is stuck in the same living room, and every complaint echoes off the walls. It turned the Griswold home into both a comfort and a trap, the perfect pressure cooker for Clark's unraveling Christmas spirit. Without the usual travel antics, the movie became something else entirely. A standalone holiday classic that even fans who've never seen the other vacation films watch religiously every year. It's the only chapter that doesn't wander, because the real journey happens inside the house. Number 12. For all the Griswold adventures that came before and after, only one inspired a direct sequel. And it wasn't the original Vacation. It wasn't European Vacation. It wasn't Vegas Vacation. It was Christmas Vacation. The one film that struck so deep, Hollywood tried to bottle it twice. In 2003, NBC released Christmas Vacation 2, Cousin Eddie's Island Adventure, a bizarre tropical spin-off starring Randy Quaid and Miriam Flynn. They brought back Dana Barron as Audrey, Eric Idle as a returning victim of Griswold chaos, and a handful of callbacks that felt like echoes of the original. But without Chevy Chase or Beverly D'Angelo, the heart of the franchise was missing. The movie earned a brutal 12% on Rotten Tomatoes, baffling fans and cementing its place as the strangest detour in vacation history, a sequel to a sequel that barely resembles the film that inspired it. Still, it stands alone as proof of one thing: Christmas Vacation hit so hard, Hollywood tried to bottle it twice. Number 13. Randy Quaid has played presidents, cowboys, villains, and heroes, but none of them follow him through airports, grocery stores, or Christmas aisles the way Cousin Eddie does. Quaid once joked that he could win an Oscar and people would still shout, "Shitter was full," across the parking lot. On the set of Christmas Vacation, Eddie wasn't written as the scene stealer. He was supposed to be a chaotic detour in Clark's already unraveling holiday, but Quaid gave him a swagger, a sincerity, and a bizarre brilliance that turned every line into a punchline fans never forgot. Decades later, people still approach him, quoting Eddie's one-liners with the same joy they had the first time they heard them. For Quaid, it became the role that defined him, not because it was his biggest, but because it was the one America claimed as family. Number 14. No sequel, no script, no studio plan, just a clothing brand making a Christmas ad, and accidentally pulling off one of the biggest reunions in holiday movie history. In 2012, Old Navy launched a series of commercials featuring cast reunions from classic films. When they approached the Vacation crew, the response was immediate, and suddenly Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, and Juliette Lewis were standing shoulder to shoulder again as the Griswolds. But the real surprise was who else showed up. Anthony Michael Hall, the original Rusty; Jason Lively, the European Vacation Rusty; Dana Barron, the very first Audrey, returning with a grin. It became a multi-generational family photo disguised as a commercial. For longtime fans, it wasn't an ad. It was a homecoming, a reminder that no matter the recasts, no matter the chaos, the Griswolds always find their way back to each other. It wasn't a sequel, but for one holiday season, it felt like one. Number 15. For a movie set entirely in one house, Christmas Vacation made a lot more noise than anyone expected. With a budget of $25 million, it quietly marched into theaters in December 1989 and stunned the studio, pulling in $73.3 million and outgrossing both the original Vacation and its European follow-up. It didn't rely on exotic locations, road trip spectacle, or big stunts. It relied on something smaller, sharper, and funnier. Every awkward Christmas memory people carry in their bones. Burnt turkey, broken lights, family chaos no one can escape. For more than 2 decades, it held the crown as the franchise's biggest hit. Not until the 2015 reboot did any other Griswold adventure pass it financially. It proved you don't need a road trip to make a classic. Sometimes all it takes is one house, one holiday, and one man trying desperately to make Christmas perfect. Number 16. Chris Columbus needed Christmas Vacation. He was young, hungry, and desperate for a studio hit. Getting hired to direct the third Griswold film felt like his big break, the chance to prove he could handle a major comedy and step into John Hughes' circle. And then it exploded. 2 meetings with Chevy Chase turned tense fast. Columbus later said he knew instantly he couldn't work with him, not without sinking the movie, or himself. Walking away meant losing the biggest opportunity of his career. He went home devastated, convinced he'd made a fatal mistake. Then the phone rang. It was John Hughes. "Since Vacation didn't work out, I have another script. You might want to read it." It was Home Alone. Columbus stepped into a new kind of Christmas chaos, one that didn't need Clark Griswold or road trips or exploding turkeys. And in one stroke of fate, the job he couldn't take handed him the movie that made him a legend. Sometimes the career you think you're losing is the one clearing space for the one you're meant to have. Bonus fact: it's the strangest secret hiding inside one of the most beloved holiday films ever made. Christmas Vacation never actually reaches Christmas Day. The lights go up, the family arrives, the dinner burns, the tree catches fire, the squirrel attacks, the police raid the house. But the calendar never flips to December 25th. Everything Every disaster, every meltdown, every laugh happens on Christmas Eve. Hughes and director Jeremiah Chechik kept the entire story frozen in the night before Christmas, letting the movie live in the anticipation, pressure, and chaos of the lead-up rather than the day itself. It's a Christmas classic that never shows the holiday, and somehow that's why it works. It captures the part of Christmas everyone knows too well: the build-up, the stress, the hope, the mess, all before the morning ever comes. In the Griswold house, Christmas Day isn't the destination. It's the dream Clark keeps chasing. Christmas Vacation wasn't meant to be a masterpiece. It was messy, chaotic, and painfully honest, and that's exactly why it became a tradition. Somewhere in the tangle of lights and cracked ornaments, the movie found the truth about the holidays. We don't show up for perfection. We show up for each other. We watch it every year because it feels like our families. Loud, stubborn, flawed, hopeful. And when those lights finally blink on, even for a moment, it reminds us why we keep trying. If this one still warms you inside, drop a comment and tell us the moment that stays with you. Because Christmas doesn't shine when it's perfect. It shines when we care enough to try again.